Mr. Speaker, we believe it is inherent in any nation to have a right to self-determination. And the people of Palestine have decided that they want an independent state, and this can be observed from the empirical evidence and the fact that they have been struggling to get one for 7 decades, and which were denied by Israeli state. What we're going to assert to you at opening government is 2 points. Firstly, we're going to say it is justified because it is a self-defense. And secondly, we're going to say that this is an efficient way of getting independence, and that this point will be more elaborate on Samad. But so, whom we actually, what types of attacks are we talking about? Firstly, we say that this is, as stated in the motion, explicitly about politicians and businessmen who actively take a stance against Palestine and encourage people to move. And we think this motion is not about Hamas killing ordinary Israeli citizens, and this is not something that we should defend on our side of the house, and we don't think that kind of argumentation would be relevant. So then why this is analogous to self-defense? We believe, as it stands, the people of Palestine do not have any alternatives to attain independence that they so much desire. And why is that so? Firstly, there are no legal means are useless. Why? Because Israel has defied international law for 4 decades for 2 reasons. We say firstly it is because from the domestic pressure from the Orthodox Jews who believe that this is a historically holy land that they belong, which is written in the Old Testament, and that this is something the God-given land which they should be having. And so that's why they try to reserve Jerusalem and hold the land that is recognized by international law as a Palestinian. They just occupied it and they live there. And second reason why Israel has defied the international law, we say because most of the land that is actually currently occupied, it is economically beneficial. This is a good land where currently the illegal settlers have a very good life because there is a lot of space, and land is very fertile, and that's why you can do businesses and do agriculture, and which is something very in great need for the state like Israel, who doesn't have a lot from its own. So that's why we say legal means are useless for that, due to that domestic and economic pressure from losing that Israel. If it's not clarification, then no. Second point, why there is no alternatives, we say because economic pressure is or a kind of a military pressure is also kind of useless. That's to say, there's people who would have done kind of sanctions on Israel to provide and help some help to the Palestine is also actually gonna not work for 3 reasons. Firstly, for example, because Israel is the ally of that Western states. For example, United States needs Israel in order to contain Iran, and that's why it's United States usually prioritizes the needs of their foreign policy objectives rather than the Palestine states. That's why they don't help Palestine, because they need Israel to contain Iran. Second reason why economic and military pressure is used, because due to the lobbying. Because most of the Western countries have a lot of lobbying from the Jewish population. For example, if you look at the top 10 Forbes of that countries, or any Israeli lobbying organizations in the United States, they are very powerful and they can direct the pressure of these governments and make them side with the Israeli state. And third reason why economic pressure is useless, we say because the domestic pressure from a lot of Christians, and particularly in the United States from evangelical Christians, who believe that this is the land, and in order for Jesus Christ to come to have his second coming, you need Israel to have control over Jerusalem and the territories of the Palestine. That's why if you want, as a politician in the United States, win any kind of election or to be re-elected, you need the support of that core evangelical Christians who push for help with Israel. All of that means that they would never side with the Palestine, and the Palestinians are alone and they cannot wait for help outside. This means the continuation of the status quo. And now I want to paint to you that status quo. How does that look like? We say it is literally an apartheid state, a state for the Palestinian state, because they have zero representation in Knesset, and there is no party who represents Palestinians. They cannot vote because they do not have, they cannot vote and run for election because they do not have any kind of citizenship, and they are simply at the pity of the Israeli citizens. That's why they cannot simply defend themselves. And the status quo for them looks like that they are ravaged by conflicts when thousands of people every year die from disease, poverty and violence. And that's why people join Hamas on their side of the house, because there are simply no alternatives, because they are simply tired of living under the martial law of the Israeli government, where they can be taken by the military at any point, and they cannot find your brother because he was just taken away by the Israeli intelligence and you do not know where he is. And this means that nobody is protected in that state. Yes?
Today Donald Trump and Netanyahu proposed an Israeli deal that give independence to Palestinians. And if propose a peace in this situation,
okay, here is how their peace deal looks like. This is a laughable deal because this does not allow a functioning Palestine state. As far as I know, this means that there is no unitary land of the Palestine. They have to still cross the border of the Israel, and they need permission of the Israel. And I've painted already with the attitude of Israel towards Palestinians. So this is not the independence. This is just a joke. We say, how does that these civilians contribute to all of that? We say they do two things. Firstly, they invest in the occupied land by making it more attractable to the people, and they provide hospitals and do other stuff. And this is a kind of a good, but this is not something that is justified, because it is not the land that belongs to them. This is the land of the Palestinian people. And second thing they do, they actually deliberately encourage people to move there, because because by offering certain programs and for lobbying and by providing and investing in that areas, they make people to move, which also makes very difficult to the possibility of attaining a very future Israeli state, because there are thousands of people who already live in there. That's why it's very difficult. It is a self-defense, and stopping that people is a very good. For that, we are very proud to propose. Thank you.
Speaker for those final remarks, and I invite the Leader of Opposition during the debate for side opposition. Here he is. Leader of Opposition.
Okay, honorable panel, we need to understand one important thing here. In status quo, even Israeli state is tired of conflict. Netanyahu says enough is enough, and everyone now is going to agree on it. United Nations, Donald Trump, etc. When opening government tries to flourish the facts that no one is going to support this deal, that this deal is oppressive, etc. Okay, maybe this deal is oppressive, but at least in comparison, it's much more better than nothing on the side of the house. That opening government, that's what we are going to prove you on opening opposition here. But now, some kind of framing, what's going on here? As I already mentioned, United Nations, Trump and Netanyahu, etc., are ready to provide the independence for Palestinian state. Yes, there are some territories which still will be Israelis, etc. And the problem here is that Palestinian state commit those attacks not to achieve the independence, but to try to take the biggest part of the fight, but trying to take Jerusalem, etc. But trying to take the important lands for even Israeli state. Okay, what do we need to understand? What do we need to understand here is this attack not will be considered as simple attacks, even if they are so. Because when they tell us about simple assassinations, etc., the simple assassinations doesn't work simple as well. Why? Because it's always creating a backlash. It's always creating a discourse, as opening Garland mentioned. However, I will later in my speech prove you that this discourse is doing nothing but harm towards those people. So the reason why it's always negative reaction from all societies, etc., on those attacks is that you have to go through the borders as a Palestinian killers in order to do so, and it already means breaking some laws, etc., on which those medias and governments can speculate in status quo. It means that you go with weapons in a home of Israeli state. That's to say that they always could be under the light of spotlight as the victims on the side of the house of opening government. Those people who opening government wants to attack are highly privileged people with a lot of security, etc. That's to say that it's highly improbable that they will come to the office and kill them. They would have to do so on the streets, creating much more panic among people, creating much more victims from people when they in some situations could kill them. On the ground of this motion, the criteria of justification is not only a principle which opening government is providing us, and later I will explain you why this principle doesn't stand in this debate, but on effectiveness as well. And we say as opening opposition that situation for Palestine will become much more worse. Why? Because why attacking those? Because of discourse that I already mentioned, etc. And why? And those medias, in addition to those reasons that I already explained in my framing, that all media are under the control of the allies of Israel. Allies of Israel, etc. Netanyahu has much more money than Palestinians, etc. That's to say that even Al Jazeera, which is Arabic media, is under the influence of Western societies. That's to say that if they want to create a discourse, etc., no one will support Palestine. No one will support their new proposals. Everyone will consider them as rivals. Everyone will consider them as felons. That's to say that it creates, no thank you, much worse ground on those negotiations. It creates much worse circumstances on Israeli state, etc. The second important thing here is the discourse under which Palestine doesn't agree on those negotiations and doesn't agree to accept this independence. Is that they want to take Jerusalem, etc. They want to take a lot of big cities. The problem is that in modern Jerusalem, Israeli society, those cities, i.e. Jerusalem, are highly glorified. They build their national identity upon those cities. That's to say that even in their anthem, they talking about Jerusalem and talking about how they are happy that Jerusalem is now there. That's to say that comparative here is simple. When on our side of the house, with when those killings are stopped, Israeli people are ready to negotiations because they've seen enough blood, because they've seen enough fightings. However, on their side of the house, on both sides of the house, they will never accept those criteria that Palestine want to achieve. That's to say that situation could become even worse. Why? Because under those oppressive rhetoric, under this rhetoric, and under the media and under the spotlight of Western media, those who are now agreed to sign this contract can change their minds and not give even that independence, because under that rhetoric, Palestinian people not only will be considered as soldiers who are fighting for their independence and status quo, i.e. Hamas, etc. But those who are targeting simple people, those who are not weaponized, i.e. politicians, businessmen, etc. That's to say that on their side of the house, the efficiency criteria is falling apart. That's to say we are winning on the clash. But when they're talking us about the principle, of self-defense, we need to understand that they are not those who are your direct rivals. They are not who directly make decisions, and it's a proper ground to rebut their claims. Why? Because the analogy here is simple. Even if the mother of murderer which trying to attack me contributed a lot to the decision of this person via creating the narratives among them, via making his rascals maybe, etc. However, I am justified to doing self-defense only on those who are directly attacking me, but not those civilians who maybe persuaded me to do so, or maybe created a narrative which persuaded me to do so, but not directly creating a decision, but not directly going on me, which was nice. But secondly, on the basis of the decision, we need to understand that even their reply towards them is disproportionate, because they didn't consent to take part at war. They didn't used to be at war, etc. That's to say that sacrifice your life upon this ground is unjustly improportional towards those people. At the end of the day, we need to understand that opening opposition explains you why it will be inefficient on their side of the house and make situation worse. Secondly, why it's principally improper from the explanation of opening government. For all these reasons, extremely proud to oppose.
I thank the speaker for those final remarks, and I invite the Deputy Prime Minister here.
So I will talk about two things mainly. First, how it helps on the ground, let's say how we will become efficient on the ground, how those killings will actually efficiently occur, and secondly, how it will enable strong, massive social changes and the whole support for those missions that we are going to do. But before that, what they say, now we say like enough is enough, and we are ready to make those deals. One already pointed out how those deals look like. Let's say the deals that they want to give us are not the ones that give us independence. Because let's say you can never be efficient as a country to manage your country if your land is strongly divided and there are like borders after every piece of your land. There are borders that you have to pass. There are very strong hardships that you have to pass. But secondly, though, there will be strong, massive protests that will come from the Palestinian people itself, because it's not what they want, it's not what they expect from you. Let's say your legitimacy as Palestinian government doesn't really work here because your people are against. And therefore, you have no legitimacy, no independence to make any actions because people are doing things. But note, this phenomena is going to continue. Let's say they will continue to give us like no efficient peace deal. Why? Because like we are not reacting. We are doing nothing for the shit that they proposing for us. Let's say we are just accepting it, and therefore they have like zero incentive to make serious reactions, serious steps, and serious consensus. We believe that on our side of the house, those things will occur, and I explain how. First, let's talk about like how the things will actually be efficient. They claim that we are killing people who did nothing, etc., etc. But if you look at those people, let's say those politicians that convince people to go, like convince Israeli people to go against those Palestinians, those businessmen that give money, that invest in weapons, invest all of those things and help our process of gaining independence. Let's say they are not just people that we have nothing to blame, but the people that actually supporting the fact that we are not independent, the fact that we are suffering, the fact that we have no state no state at all. Let's say, yes, they claim there is like a lot of security and therefore we can do nothing. However, I think it's very naive to make a statement like that, because we are talking about a country and the land where like in a day there are many situations where security of the people actually is ruined and every person is actually not secure and vulnerable. Even if you are some politician, even if you are some businessman, you have to make some political statement. You have to go to the public, you have to move, and in those things, that's why when you go to the church or to some of those places, we have people who can kill you, who can do all of this stuff. But not even if our benefits will be marginal and let's say we will assassinate only some of the people, we believe it will still have a strong effect. Why? Because it will have a deterrence effect. Let's say more people will see that their statements can result in the fact that they will die, in the fact that their lives will be in the danger. Therefore, they will not make such extreme statements that will help the process of gaining independence, that will stop our Palestinian population. So, no, if you look to the uniqueness of this thing that we are doing right now, like in the past we went to the war, in the past we made some clashes and we lost. However, here we are using different strategy. Let's say we're using strategy of hit and run. Let's say in this hit and run strategy we cannot just certainly lose because we're not engaging in a direct war. However, in this war where we cannot really be defeated because we kill them and those people hiding the population. Let's say we have no direct loss of reputation from the Palestinian side because we are being efficient, and therefore our enemies, let's say Israel, US will see those things being efficient. Let's say they are losing their people, they are losing all this support, etc. Let's say they cannot be certain and ignore our actions because we are making actions. So secondly, how this efficiency actually will increase in this capacity. Notice our population, yes, maybe our population is tired and disappointed. However, now our Palestinian population and the Arab world will see that we making some efficient actions. We are killing the people that threatening our independence directly. We are eliminating them, and we certainly have some. That's why we will have a great support of the population. That's why we come to the point in which those international organization international organization can ignore our statements, ignore what we actually want. That's it. Firstly, it strongly affects the legitimacy of Israel because, when you see that people who govern your country, people who hold power in your country are dying directly, you as Israel population, your security goes away. You see that you are actually losing this war because people that direct you, people that lead you are dying. Therefore, it gives a strong incentive to Israel to go to the table and come to this serious consensus. But secondly, though, it also incentivizes US to be more tolerant, to make more efficient consensus that will actually be liked by Palestinians. Why? Because US supports Israel and US actually gives this support. However, when the whole world will see that US is failing to support Israel, US is failing to deter Palestinians because this strategy is absolutely unique and is efficient to tackle, to make a terror to the people, and therefore there is an incentive to give the deal that we want. However, on their side of the house, there is not a deal, but only nothing. Thank you.
I thank the speaker for those fine remarks, and I invite the deputy leader of opposition to continue the debate. Stay here.
I have to leave now.
Go ahead.
Let's start from analysis of best case of opening government. And we will prove why killing civilians is not justified even if Palestine will be independent. Firstly, politicians and businessmen has own life and they didn't give consent as soldiers to be killed in a war. It means that if killing and assassination is morally unjustified, it means it's also unjustified in conflict between Israel and Palestinian. And opening government doesn't answer on this point from my partner. Secondly, attacks provided with harm to other civilians, and these civilians can have neutral and positive attitude to Palestine and propose pacifistic ideas and narratives in society of Israel. It means that these Israelis who can suffer or can harm by these attacks, for example, terroristic attacks or armed attack, can propose that we should stop the war. War isn't good in our society, war is something bad, and because these Palestinians will kill and or harm this person, we understand that killing them is not justified, and because these people doesn't give any harm to Palestinians. They vice versa try to prevent war, try to stop war, and as a result we understand that these Palestinians kill people who can be beneficial for Palestinians, and it means that it's not justified for own population, for Palestinian population, because when you kill these people, you make the war longer, and as a result, sufferings of Palestinians longer too. Moreover, we understand that even if Palestine will achieve independence, post-conflict society will be destructive in case of opening government, because even if independence will be achievable, same borders and interactions of Palestinians and Israelis has very big chances. And in case of violation of humanitarian law, it creates narratives of hatred from Israelis. It means that radical groups and nationalistic groups will attack Palestinian civilians. And if these attacks in status quo are existing between non-military groups on level of physical harms, it can lead to massive genocides in case of proposition. But what we propose in comparative cooperation with Israel brings opportunity to create and spread narratives that the war finished, and we should create economic deals, we should create economic trade, and we should create new history when Palestinians and Israelis are not in conflict. But in case of proposition, we understand that Israel has no any incentives to cooperate with Palestine. Israel government understands that. Israel government understands that Palestine can attack again, and as a result it creates more defensive way, and it creates narratives that Palestine is something bad to legitimize future attack on Palestine if Palestine will attack again. Moreover, reputation of Palestine on worldwide arena will be also suffered in case of opening government, and we understand that what is impact of this reputation? First, it's not recognizing diplomatically of independence of Palestine. No, sorry. We understand that even if Palestine will achieve some independence from US, from Israel, opening government state, not all countries will achieve, not all countries will recognize this independence, such as Spain, that are against of segregative groups because of case of Catalonia, and we understand that. If Spain will support Palestine, it means that Spain legitimizes aggressive separatism. But in case of peaceful separation of Palestine, Spain has more incentive to recognize Palestine, and as a result, Palestine will have all benefits from sovereignty, such as creation of laws and proposals of these laws on territory. Moreover, we understand that in case of opening government, such countries such as Russia, Spain, and other countries who are afraid of separatism, they will create sanctions against. They will create sanctions against Palestine. As a result, we understand even if some independence will be achievable on opening government, this independence will not lead to economic development, economic development. As a result, people will not have chances to have any production or infrastructure, and businesses in this Palestine will not be created. But in our case, when this independence will be created by case of peaceful deal, we understand that more chances that other countries and other organizations such as World Trade Organization will be cooperate with us, and it leads to development of our country. No, sorry. Moreover, why independence is possible without attacks? Because today we understand that main idea of open government says about self-defense, but today we understand that there is no any attack from Israel. Israel, vice versa, try to finish war. And today, when Palestine will attack Israel people, Israel civilians, it's creation of conflict and decreasing bargaining range. No, sorry. What is bargaining range? Bargaining range is possibility to create a peaceful idea, to create a peaceful finishing of this conflict, and it leads to independence of Palestine. But when opening government will legitimize this idea of killing, civilians, it means that today Israel and Netanyahu have responsibility to pay back for victims of this attack. And as a result, because these victims are important people such as politicians and businessmen. And when these attacks will be existed, we understand that Israel will have less incentives to give this independence from Palestine. But when opening government says about that, USA, world community will understand that USA cannot brings enough defense to Israel. We understand that it's not true, because in case of opening government, US will create more military base in Israel. We try to donate more on continuation of war, on defense of Israel, and we understand that it not lead to lack of legitimacy of Israel in case of opening government. It leads to aggressive behavior of Israel against Palestine. And we understand if it's aggressive, more people die, more people suffering, and more people who want independence will not achieve independence in case of opening government. And because of that, I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you.
I thank the speaker for those final remarks, and I invite the member for the debate for closing half here.